issue of Relatable. I am your host, Stephanie Michele. This show is dedicated to my grandmother who passed away this weekend in Michigan. Her name was Phyllis Boltinghouse, and just want to share this. This is a picture of her and actually me sitting on her lap. And I don't know if we can get real tight on it, but the necklace that she's wearing, I happen to be wearing today to remember her. My grandma, she lived life, she went out, she left this planet and she lived life in the same way, like a total boss, complete boss. That's my grandma. That's what I'll remember as, like, she always had something to say. She knew what she was talking about. She was very sure of herself, and she was the boss in the family. Love you, Grandma. I hope you're resting in peace and spending time with your brother, getting to see him again. So yeah, that's what we're dedicating the show to. Every week, if this is the first time that you've tuned in, we start and end this show by spotlighting exceptional human encounters. Why? Because I believe we need to be reminded that those kinds of experiences, we are totally capable of making them happen. You know, the good stuff that we feel and experience with each other. So we're going to talk about that today, as always. For everyone watching on live stream, here is the question I want you to discuss in chat. This is a yes or no question. Have you ever had experience where you or someone else you were in conversation with misinterpreted communication via text? I'm seeing a lot of heads shaking. I just imagine, because like, who hasn't, right? Like, this is such an easy thing to do. So if that's the case, what benefit would it be to jump to conclusions and assume the absolute worst in that communication? Who benefits by that? I want you to think about that, and also discuss, like, what could you do to get more clarity on the communication before we jump to conclusions and things get out of hand. I will be jumping into that chat after the show to see what you guys are talking about. So chat amongst yourselves. And now we're going to meet our guests. So today I'm thrilled to be joined by a woman that helps clear the mess and the clutter that gets in the way sometimes of us having good human encounters with each other. So sitting with me today is Tracy Mokuba, who is the author of Making Space Clutter-Free, easy for me to say, the last book on decluttering you'll ever need, that will be released in June of this year. While working for a major television director in Los Angeles, Tracy discovered she had the ability to see through any mess clearly envisioning a clutter-free space. Just want to like spit like a space thinking about that right now. Coupled with her keen time management and organizational skills, Tracy soon found more and more people were asking for her help. Before she knew it, she formed her company, Declutterify, to serve her clients. Tracy is a regularly featured expert on Hallmark's Home and Family, has a column on Mind Body Green, and has a regular declutter segments on Fox 5, ABC News, KTL LA Morning Show, Cal 9, and Good Day Sacramento. She and her company have also been featured in Real Simple, Women's Day, and Shop Smart. When she's not decluttering, I can't wait to ask you about this. She's the proud co-executive director of One Kind, One World, a nonprofit building strong educational foundations for children in impoverished communities through Kenya and Central America.
I know, I'm tired.
I know.
I'm like, wow.
I was tired getting through that. Like, there's a lot of noise.
I know.
I'm like, oh,
it's all right.
There was clutter. I'm like, I'm just trying to read here, people. Anyhow, well, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me. It's fantastic.
I'm so excited. We're gonna share with you guys how we actually got connected, because we have a very close, like, mutual friend that I love, and we have to
and we're turning out to know other people.
I
think is
great. In the 3 minutes before the show, we have also discovered that we both know Steve, and you might have remembered he was on the show last year. He's the hugging expert. So yeah, we'll get to that. But so I usually unload in the monologue. I didn't have much to unload. I'm really just remembering my grandma.
Yeah. I know. I dedicated my book to my grandmother.
You did?
I
did. That's awesome. We're celebrating grandmas today.
I know. It was great, and it was interesting. I love that you know. One of the I do a lot of transitional decluttering. So after people pass away, or after people have inherited, a house full of stuff from people who have passed away.
Yeah.
And what I always tell people is the amount of stuff that you keep from someone that passed in no way represents how much you love them.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I have 3 things in my grandmother. I mean, I loved her. and just to see this necklace and what it means to you, to me, that is a representation of that, as opposed to a storage unit that you're paying $600 a month for furniture that you'll never use, but it was your grandmother's.
Absolutely. So I got to spend time with her in Michigan not too long ago, and she was already preparing. She lived a full life. She was already really preparing, like, I'm probably not going to be here much longer. And so she had started asking the grandkids and my aunts and uncles, my dad, what did we want? And there were like tags on things all over
my
the
grandma
house.
did the same thing. Post it.
Yeah,
and then if she got mad at you, she'd take the post-it away.
I don't know about that.
Earn that chair back.
Yeah. But I didn't. Yeah, she has great stories. She always told great stories about her life, and I wanted something like fashion. It was like, what do you got, Grandma?
Right.
And I absolutely adore that I have this photo of her wearing
I know.
the same necklace, and she's holding me. I didn't get to that point. That's me on her lap.
And I have to say, I have so much respect that your grandmother did that. Like, I work with so many clients, and they're like, look, I know I'm 85, or I'm not going to be here that much longer. I want to start giving stuff away, and then their family just freaks out. It's so morbid. How can you talk about that? And to me, I think it's the exact opposite. I think it's so honorable, and it's
I do too.
So, like, I want people to have what they want, and I want them to know the stories behind it. And if you don't want it, get rid of it.
And I think there's less fighting after someone passes, if someone was involved in the beginning.
I talk about this in my book, but there's the clearer that everybody can be up front, because first of all, there's family lore, like, well, this is and it's worth $1 billion, and it's like, no, it's not, or maybe, but the clearer everybody can be about what the real value is and what things really are and what people want ahead of time, and that comes from the person.
Yeah.
And so I'm always encouraging. I have a couple of my clients, one of my favorite clients started giving her jewelry away. She's about to turn 90, and she has big, crazy, and she's like, I'm never going to wear this again.
Yeah.
I would so much rather see my niece.
Yeah.
I'd rather see my granddaughter wearing this out.
And I think she would appreciate. I took a picture right when I got back. My family's in Michigan. Right when I got back from Michigan, me wearing this necklace.
Oh.
And posted on Facebook, and I know she got a kick out of it. So like, she appreciate like seeing in the living like where her stuff has gone to. So yeah. Props to Grandma.
Yeah, I love that. I love that.
Yeah, awesome. Well, so let's talk about your child. So was there any indication? So in your bio, we talked about, in your career, it started to come up that you had a real knack for decluttering. Is there anything in your childhood that gave you the signs that you'd be doing this for a living?
Well, hindsight is a perfect science.
Yeah.
I talk about in the book, so it's not a secret, but I am the child of a hoarder. Mm-hmm. So I spent my life with one of my parents, my father, watching him navigate a very, very complicated relationship to stuff. Mm-hmm. So I also saw the great emotional toll it took on him and on his relationships with family and girlfriends and wives, and so I think all that just got filed away, then kind of parallel pathing with my strong desire for order. Just that was always a case. So I was always sort of knew where my stuff was, and closet was in, I was never a really messy kid.
So you would see all of that, all the stuff, and then you would take your own space and make it really clean and neat?
I think that his symptoms didn't get worse until later. So I think that it wasn't like I grew up in that kind of a household at all. But I think that, probably a little chaos that I was trying to maintain.
Yeah, I get it. So, and I know that, so do we get to talk about what's in the book? Because I know it's coming up. All right, so I want to know. Yeah. So you talk about 7 emotional clutter blocks.
Yes.
What are they?
Well, now, to be fair, I don't want to give them all away. Okay. That is the meat of the book.
Okay.
But they are things like being frugal.
Okay.
Right. I can't give this away because I spent so much money on it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And then, but the question becomes, do you use it? Or do you just swallow a bitter pill and say, yep, I spent too much money on, I'm never going to use it.
Yeah.
And I'm going to
I had to do that. I told
do that
you.
recently?
No, I told you on Friday. I actually
I know
just.
those pictures were great.
I had enough. Like I could not find. I didn't even know I had these pants in my wardrobe. And these are some cool pants. Okay, that's how bad things have got. I could not see anything in my closet, and I literally cleared my day and said I have to take care of this.
Right.
You know? And I did. There were things in there that. I'm so embarrassed to admit that. Still had tags. Still had tags.
That's the bitter pill.
Oh god. Still had tags.
Yeah.
That I never wore. Obviously, I wasn't going to. I didn't like it, and I was holding it onto it because yes, maybe I spent too much on it. I felt bad. I'm like, nope, it's got to go.
Right, and that's and the cycle is you spent too much money on it. Turns out you're never going to wear it. You missed the window to return it. And so then it's like this thing in your closet that just makes you feel bad over and over.
Totally.
Every time you look at it and you're like, ugh.
I also blame bad lighting because like a lot of the bad purchases that you think it was so great that you tried on somewhere and then you get home and like real lights.
Yeah.
It looks like terrible.
Also the mystery mirrors that they have at, you're like, this looks so good. You get
it's like almost like candlelight where everything looks beautiful and you're like, wait a second, this does not look real. Yeah, I'm so happy that I actually can move stuff left and right.
I always tell people, I think that if you have an inch of space to move hangers,
that's
like
enough.
that's you need about like if it's but if you have an inch of space to move back and forth, it's just a great you can actually kind of push it and see the front and and look, we all make mistakes, right? I say this all the time, but I'll go into a client's master bedroom and there'll be a giant treadmill and I'll go, oh, do you use this? And they go, every day
to hang clothes on.
Exactly. Exactly. And I'm like, no, I don't think that counts.
No.
So, and one of the things that I talk a lot about is conscious donating.
Mm-hmm.
So, donating beyond just going and dropping it off at one of the giant thrift stores. And look, they do fantastic work, but sometimes, like for me, I live in downtown LA like you do. So we are confronted and see the homeless problem. Excuse me.
Yeah, there's a ton of women's shelters. I think I know where you're going with this, but I'm gonna let you finish.
Yeah, well, just that for me, because it's part of my community.
Yeah.
I prefer to donate to like the downtown women's shelter because I see those women. A lot for me is foster kids. That's just something. So I have a couple of foster care. So I tell people in that scenario where you paid too much for something and you just feel so guilty, find somewhere to give it away that speaks to you.
Yeah.
And it's so much, I tell people all the time, look, if I came to your house, if you and I were chatting and I was like, oh my gosh, I have this dinner tonight and I don't have anything to wear and I don't have time and I'm freaking out, and you'd be like, oh my God, come, I have 6 sweaters, take this. And so if you apply that to your donating as opposed to, I'm just throwing it away or I'm just giving it away. And then even taking it to a deeper level of, like for instance, now all these big stores, H&M, J. Crew, are taking old fabric because fabric doesn't break down.
Yeah,
when it goes.
They should take it. So I'm sorry, all the fast fashion. I mean, they should take it.
They should take it, and they are starting to, but people don't because there's a lot of clothes you can't donate.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, fast fashion is a whole other conversation. So I would say to people like, look, at least I like my certain socks from H&M. I take a bag of fabric, and every time I go, I get 15% off. Like, it's just thinking a little bit more, and it makes it easier to let go.
And it's helpful for sorting, I would think, too, because you could start to think, okay, who do I know that I can give some of these pieces to? What shelters? Some of our shelters, they'll take pieces and they'll put it in a store that they're going to resell it, and it actually becomes cash for programs and things. So just doing a little bit of research and saying these things are meant for these places, I think is a great thing.
And it's a little bit more work, but it's really not.
But it takes away the sting of how you felt about it.
Exactly. Exactly. And so that's a big one for people is a lot of really feel strongly about animals and animal rescue.
Yeah.
And I'm like, all the shelters need sheets and towels, and it's a 15 or 20 minute errand. It's really, so I really encourage people to donate on a little bit deeper level, and it makes it so much easier to let go.
And so these clutter blocks that you've experienced with clients, do we all have one? I mean, do we all have some sort of clutter?
We all do. Yeah. And I think sometimes in different places in our life, sentimentality is another one, right? Like you feel so sentimental about something and you can't. But then as I was recently looking through some old photos and I was like, I don't even remember these people I got drunk with. Like, don't remember them, you know? So as time passes, it gets easier.
Yeah.
So I think that, look, we live in a world, and then especially in the country, that force feeds us conscious consumption, right? Conspicuous consumption, cheap consumer goods, buy. So to stay ahead of clutter is a constant job, right? It's just, we just can't help it. Like you're like, where did all this mail come from? Where did all this?
Yeah.
So I think that we always have to revisit this. I don't think it's not, we're never going to get to a point where we're clutter free and we're going to stay that way. You have to work on it.
Well, even if you think you are, you probably have digital clutter. I mean, I can't even tell you how many like Dropbox storage.
I looked at my Google Docs the other day and I was like, what is happening in here?
Yeah.
Like, I don't, you know, it's like, oh, it's so, and it's like, no, it's not that easy.
Have you worked with clients on that, on digital?
You know, I do a little bit. I have a couple of the women who work for me are really good at that. So they definitely do more of it. And, you know, I've taken to now, January 1st, I just nuke my inbox.
You nuke it.
I just get rid
everything
of
past January 1st?
I actually go back to December. I go a month back.
I've done that before.
And I get rid of it. And I've never, because I can usually find it in my sent folder or I just clean out. So I'm not looking at, you know, I try and keep less than 100 emails in my inbox.
Really? Oh my gosh, I couldn't do that. I don't know about that.
But I move them into folders. I have lots of folders. I like that feeling of, for me, the feeling of reading it, doing it, and moving into a folder is fantastic.
Got it.
Yeah.
Got it. Okay. So dealing with clients that are experiencing a lot of clutter, is there a normal situation when someone reaches out? Is it after things have gotten too far, or like what? Yeah,
when you know, it's funny. People sort of ask me, well, how do I know if I have a problem? And I'm like, well, you know, it's not for me to say.
Yeah.
It's when your life. I always say that when your home isn't working in the way you need it to, if you can't get dressed in the morning calmly, if you can't make dinner and feel good about it, if you can't find what you're looking for, then the stuff, I always say, when you feel like you don't own your stuff anymore, but your stuff owns you, that's a tipping point. And that's a different point for everybody. I live by myself in a loft in downtown. I'm very different than a family of 4 people. So by the time people reach out to me, something's not working. You know, they're like, I just can't pay. I don't want to pay for storage anymore. I have 2 rooms in my house that I can't even use. I see that a lot. You go into someone's home and it looks beautiful, and then they're like,
that one door,
at these guest rooms, and you're like, I'm like, when's the last? And they're like, oh, someone hasn't stayed here for 10 years.
Do you allow people to have like one junk drawer, one space that completely, like?
I mean, yes, I wouldn't say completely go crazy, but I do. Yes, I am a fan of. We call it the all-American everything drawer.
Okay.
We don't call it the junk drawer, but there's one drawer where you're like, I need to put my hands on a tape measure and a this and a that, and it sort of lives right here. But sometimes, you're like, and especially if it's 2 people cohabitating, and one is, if there are different places on the clutter scale, I'm like, just give.
Have you been called in on that situation?
All the time. And so some of it's like, you know what, just give the clutter person a space that they can be as messy as they want.
Right.
Sometimes you just have to. But it's a talk, it's a communicating about the shared spaces.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And how it doesn't help the couple or the family move forward.
Right. So, and once someone goes through this process of like really identifying that there's a clutter issue and they work with you and they solve it, what's the thing that happens the most after they've cleaned up that mess? Like what are they experiencing?
Oh, I mean, from so many people, it's ease, it's less stress, it's, that sort of, I always say, people always explain to me when they have a really cluttered house that they feel this tightness in their throat, in their chest, they can't breathe.
I experienced it on Friday.
When you open your closet, you're like, ah, and just that all of a sudden it's like, I can get dressed in the morning.
Yeah.
Or I know where this is, or I'm not, and tax time isn't a panic.
It feels so good to be able to see everything that you have too. That's one of the reasons why I moved into a loft. Like, I actually like having a smaller space to keep me accountable. You know, you can't have stuff sitting out. It easily looks cluttered because there's not a lot of surface space.
Oh, if we took a walk over to my loft, you would be like, what? I just got in from out of town last night, and it just like blew up this morning, and I was like, I got to get a handle on this.
Yeah.
And that's the thing I always tell myself, like, there's a few things I know, and I'm like, I need to get a handle on this.
That brings me to a question about that. So when you're trying to establish tips for your clients after you're going to be gone, you know, that you've come in and really worked your magic and got them organized, what are some of those tips that just to keep them accountable to that? Like, are you like, is it a weekly checklist? Is it a daily? Like, what are you really doing to help people stay accountable to like
I think I always tell people I always like to build in a weekly, like, just go around and neaten up the house. I think that you know, ideally it would be Sundays.
Yeah.
You know, just that you can kind of put things. You know, I always feel like if you can't neaten up a room in 20 minutes, then you probably crossed over.
That's a good,
right? Like, if you can't just put, like, I know that when I go home this afternoon, about a half an hour, and I'll be able to unpack my suitcase and, you know, do that. But if it takes more than, and that's a whole apartment, right?
Yeah.
If it takes more than 20 minutes to neaten up a space, then you've crossed over.
That's a great rule to really think about. Then that's the time to, like, you know, maybe some organizational.
And everybody has trouble spots, right? So for some people, it's
papers. I'm just gonna guess what you're doing. Papers, clothes, kitchen stuff, garage stuff.
Yep. Papers are a huge one. Mail is sort of a subdivision of paper, right?
Yeah.
Because I have lots of clients who go a week or two without opening their mail. Or don't even sort it. You know, I go at the mailbox and I'm like,
I sort too at the mailbox.
Yeah, like, but you just, you know, it just becomes, so yeah, you look at what your trouble spots are, right? Like, if your closet's your trouble spot, or if your kitchen, you know, you know, just put a little reminders in. And then I kind of think, you know, every 3 or 4 months, sort of 3 times a year, you need to do a big deep, like, give yourself a day, go through your closet, go through your pantry, like, go to those places and go, like, let's just roll up our sleeves and do some work.
Clean it up. Do you have a rule about, so this is where I get into trouble all the time, because it's clothes is my thing, for sure. Is
well, you're very stylish. So
thank you. I like fashion.
You
you know,
look, that's what people are like, are you going to make me get rid of everything? I'm like, no, that's not the point. The point is that you love what you have, you wear it or you use it, and you can find it.
That's the point. Like, it's so amazing to open a drawer and go, I know everything that's in this drawer. Like, I can see it right now. I don't have to dig around and like,
then you
look
don't buy that. Like, you know, for me, I'm like, oh, look, well, I know when things get out of control is when I buy something, I bring it home, and I'm like, I have 3 just like this.
Oh, no. That's terrible. Yeah, I'm sure I've done that before. Well, so do you have a rule? This is where I get in trouble for sure, is if I wear something for just a short period of time and it's not really dirty.
Yeah.
Like, what do you do? Like, you hang it back up, change it. My mom's like, oh, honey, you change the direction of the hanger. That's what you do. Or,
well,
like, so you know.
Oh, so that's interesting, because what I did in my closet as a test, I turned all my clothes backwards. So mine all face, right, but pockets face out. So I turned everything on the hanger backwards. And then when I wore it, I turned it right side. Yeah. And at the end of 6 months, I think I did a 6-month test, everything I hadn't turned around.
I think that's what she was talking about too. Yeah. But, so then you know, like, you know, these are not things that you want to.
I mean, you know, I have a little stool that on it, I call it my after school clothes. Like, when you come home from work and you put on jeans and a t-shirt, you know, that stuff just, I'll wear it for a few hours and then go to bed. That stuff just stays there.
See, I had that. I had a little slipper chair is what it's called in my bathroom. But my dog has decided that's his chair. It was supposed to be the spa chair, clothing chair, but it's his chair.
Oh,
so I never have a private moment in my bathroom because my dog is on that chair staring at me. Yeah.
That's so funny. So you know, and look, I'm a fan of, even if it's twice a year, seasonal cleaning, right? Spring cleaning, fall. Use some markers. I also tell some, you know, a lot of clients too, like, holiday time is great because a lot of time work for people slows down. So, like, because all that stuff is coming in, right? Yeah. Like, maybe do a little.
What if you have zero motivation for doing it?
You know what? Here's what
You're like, you call me.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I'm like, yes, that's why I have a very successful business. You know, I always tell people to put the goal in front of them. I was working with a client recently, and her partner had passed away, and she wanted to start dating again. And she just there was no room for anyone in that apartment. There just wasn't room. and we were going through her clothes, and I was like, would you wear this on a date with your potentially new boyfriend? She's like, no. I was like, would you want your potentially new boyfriend to see you in this outfit? No. Would you? And got rid of, like, when she had a goal. So it's not about decluttering to, be Pinterest perfect or look good on Instagram. It's about making your life run smoothly or happy.
Yeah. What I'm hearing for you, and we like to celebrate this theme here, is momentum. It's like, we sometimes set a goal and the goal is so big and then we put it off and we're not motivated to do it. But the momentum of just asking a different question, like, why am I hanging on to this?
Right.
Would I want someone to see me in this? I ask those questions, like clothes, because I hang on to stuff, and I'm like, why am I hanging on to this? But it's like, if you're not going to wear it on your best moment, like, why is it there?
Right.
Unless it's super, super comfortable and you're going to lounge around in that. I don't know. But
you get some of those, but you just, it's looking where you are in your life now versus where you used to be. I mean, I always joke, I'm like, if you wore that style the first time around, it's probably passed you for the second time around. Yeah. But it's looking at your motivation, right? Looking at it. That's
what's funny. So we think stuff does come back.
Right.
And we were told, hang on to it. And in terms of fashion, that's what I'm talking about. It very rarely comes back in the exact way that it left.
Right, exactly.
Like bell bottoms and things. It might come back with the bell bottom is not as wide or wider or whatever.
Or so your waist is a different.
Or your waist is different.
Look, I mean, I don't wear as much as I used to because my body's changed, but I used to wear tons of vintage and I loved it. And I've been saving some of my really special stuff for my niece. She's 18 and she looks fantastic in it. And I'm like, take it,
Yeah.
So yes, I think that looking at, if you don't feel motivated, it's looking at what's the vision that you have for your home.
And I'm assuming this is where identifying these type of blocks that people have and letting them know, this is what you're struggling with, helps to start, here's a different approach. Here's how we're going to handle this for you because you're different from somebody else.
Right. And also, a lot of people don't understand. They're like, well, I know everyone's talking about decluttering. It's everywhere. Everyone's doing it.
I watched. Yeah.
And, I should be doing it too. I'm like, well, maybe you're stuck. I mean, yes, exactly. We can, there's a whole movement right now, and I think it's fantastic. I think Marie Kondo has started an amazing conversation, and I think that her starting place is fantastic. It is not for everybody.
Yeah.
It just doesn't work for everybody. I've been doing this for 12 years. I have thousands of clients.
That's kind of what I think she's fabulous. I watched the show. I watched the show in preparation for you being here with me today.
Great.
And she's very adamant about this.
Yes.
And it's the same for everybody in every situation. And I found myself watching it going, that probably wouldn't work for me.
Yeah.
But yes, thank you for starting the conversation.
Oh, fantastic.
Because I do think everybody feels better when they know where their things are, when they have space to think about, to slow down and be with people and do the things that they want to do. So I do think, decluttering is a good thing.
And I think that people don't even understand why they're getting stuck. Does that make sense? Like they're like, I want to do this and I can't. And there's one, she has one question. It's like, well, look, this is what I tell people all the time. When stuff comes to us, it has no meaning. Literally, it has no meaning, right? And we imbue meaning on it. So you have the power. You made that important to you, and you can take it away.
Yeah.
And I think that when people realize how accountable they are in it, it's really a freedom.
Yeah. And I think you're right. There's so many habits that we have thanks to consumerism and everything being so fast and accessible, and here's your cart and it has your name on it. Stephanie's cart.
Yeah, exactly.
And I can just drop stuff in it and it's going to be here tomorrow.
And then I get a nice little reminder that Stephanie, there's still stuff in your cart.
And I'll get free shipping if I put $5 more with a product. There's all kinds of things that are conditioning us in a way that we buy extra stuff, or we buy things that we don't need. And I don't think it's like a conscious thing, where you're really paying attention, that habit that I have with Amazon, I'm just going to say it, you know, is not good. It's actually, you know, yes, it's convenient, but it's not actually serving me in other areas of my life. And maybe even contradicting some of the values and beliefs that I have about purchasing things. And
so one of the things that I tell my clients, basic starting point, instead of saying, oh, I really need a new pair of jeans. I really need it. I'm like, are you a rancher? Because you've got 10 pairs. Like, and to just swap the word want.
Yeah.
Just say it. Just call it what it is.
Yeah.
I want a new pair of jeans.
Yeah.
And once that switch is so powerful, because it's like, oh, this is just a desire and I want it and I'm either going to fulfill it or I'm not.
Yeah.
Instead of kidding yourself that I need, we need very little.
Yeah.
I mean, think about when you travel, right? You like go, I mean, I'm getting ready to go to New York for like 3 weeks, and I'm like, I'm gonna do it with one suitcase.
And I consider, I'm sure you do too, I consider myself a master packer. Yeah, like I can get so much in a little space, and I'm so proud of that. And like, oh, look at all the outfits I can make out of these 6 pieces. So like imagine, I don't know, there's an interesting thing of thinking of like, oh, I love that moment. You know, I'm a great traveler. I only put the essentials in here, and I had a great travel experience the whole time I was gone with those 6 pieces or whatever. Like applying that to your life, like really.
So I did Patricia Heaton, who's an actress, is a longtime client of mine, and you know, she's lovely and beautiful clothes. And she and her husband went on a trip to Ireland for 3 or 4 weeks with another couple, and had like a little rental car and like a little. And she calls me when she gets back, and she's like, I don't want any of it anymore. She's like, what am I hanging on for it?
Yeah.
She's like, I have 3 sons. They're not gonna like all these. So this was amazing. She did an auction with the Real. So she auctioned off all her designer pieces and then raised money for a charity she works with called World Vision. And it was fantastic. And she was like, look, I don't wear this stuff anymore. And it was so great. And it was being on a 3-week trip where she was, you know, and she looked stylish and fabulous all the time. Yeah. And she was like, I had a suitcase and it was so freeing.
That's an awesome story. So there's another little hidden tip in there. If you don't think you can deal with your clutter, take a trip.
Yeah,
and then come back, and you might have a different mindset after that.
Like, I didn't miss any of that.
Right. Do you ever lose things?
You know,
Do you lose your keys?
I don't know. No. Never my keys. Sometimes when I travel, I'll lose. I get what I call travel OCD, where I'm like, where is that? But it's very rare if I lose something. I did just lose a pair of sunglasses. I'm like, that's so weird.
Really?
Yeah.
Sunglasses. If I'm on a lake somewhere, it's a known fact that the sunglasses will be at the bottom of the lake somewhere. I don't buy expensive sunglasses anymore because I just can't. Those ones I'll lose in a month. If I buy cheap ones, I'll have them for 2 years.
See, it's funny because some other people have the exact opposite, where they buy one very expensive thing because then they'll work so hard to save it.
Yeah. Not me.
Yeah.
Not me.
Yeah, it's funny. I don't really misplace things. That's not my bugaboo.
Yeah. Has there ever been a moment where you're decluttering for someone or going through boxes and things that it was too much, or you're like, oh, I'm developing a new method as we speak because this is different. This is a different level of clutter.
Well, I think that it's, I think one of my skills and why I'm so good at my job is that I am very agile and I'm very sensitive to what everybody's going through. So, you know, I have some clients who like, you know, will book an 8-hour session and then at hour 3.5, I'm like, oh no, they can't do this, you know? And so I'm very aware of, you know what, let's take a walk outside. Like, let's have a snack break. Like, why don't you go answer some emails, or why don't you return a couple phone calls? Let us, so it's, you know, the process isn't the same for everybody. Yeah. So it's about being aware that this is what that person needs in that moment. And that's what I always tell people when they're doing it at home for themselves is, you know, like set yourself up for success, right? Yeah. Like, do you need a good cup of tea, or do you need a certain kind of music, or do you need to put some friends on alert? That's what I always kind of tell people, like, oh,
a clutter buddy.
Yeah, totally. Or like I'm going to go deal with some stuff for my dad's. Like I just want to send I hit a hard part, or you know, something
check
like
on
that.
me.
Yeah. So I think that it's all about being successful, and it's all about what do you need to do, and don't be a weekend warrior and be like, I'm going to do this whole thing in 2 days. It's like, you know what? Sometimes you maybe have to start small.
Yeah. Start with 3 boxes or one area,
and,
one topic.
And I always tell people, don't start with the hard stuff, right? Like, don't pull up love letters from the great love of your life and like read through those. Like, start with old magazines or,
Yeah, that doesn't sound good at all. So another thing that we like to talk about on the show is just interdependence, and none of us are self-made, and that there's people supporting us. When you think about your journey to get to where you are today, like who's your support system? Like who needs a shout out?
Yeah, well, wow, that's great. I would definitely give. The list is so long. My friend Julie Gordon-White is an amazing female entrepreneur business coach, and she has been my lifeline. 911 texts, I saw a card recently that said, behind every strong woman is another woman who's willing to answer a text at 2 a.m. So she's been fantastic. My brother has been fantastic. It's been an amazing journey. I've gotten a lot of support along the way.
Yeah.
And was really my partner in my nonprofit, Josh Bicel, it was really amazing. I didn't get a lot of "you can't do this."
Yeah.
I got a lot of "oh wow, this is something new," and it was great.
That's great.
But I never, I also have 2 girlfriends, my friends Liz and Carrie, who we're on a text chain every day, and they do very different jobs, and we just, it's just having that support of am I crazy? Or this pissed me off? Or, that.
You gotta check in. These relationships are so important.
Yeah. And I think as women, I don't think my observation is men don't have this in the same way. But I think that, I have a client, I love this. I have a client, she must be in her 70s, and she has a women's group that their kids were all in preschool together, and their kids are all in their 30s now, and they still meet once a month.
That's cool.
These are women, she's like, we've had a 30-year friendship, and we can just download and talk.
Yeah.
And I just was like, that is rad.
Yeah, that is good stuff.
And when as you start to get older and you realize you've had these friendships for 20 years, I mean, Julie, who's my business coach, we've known each other since we were 4 years old.
Yeah.
So there becomes, I think, the power in the support comes in the shorthand.
Yeah, what comes up for me when you're sharing that is I love being the age that I am, and when I hit a situation that an immediate friend or relationship pops into mind, well, this is, I need to call this person because they're the best person. Yeah, I love being able to say that that's where I am, and we all get to take credit in that. We all help to foster and develop those relationships. I
what I also was thinking about this in terms of getting older and smarter, is that feeling of, when you were younger, you'd have this feeling of friendships, you had to sort of, well, you haven't called me in so long, or we haven't talked in so long. And as I'm finding with my friends, that it's we're not wasting time on that. Everybody knows what everybody's life is. So you can call someone that you haven't talked to in 6 months, and they're like, I'm so happy to hear from you. Yeah. That to me is really one of the powers of getting older.
I think too, we grew up with this concept of best friend. You had to have you had the person you were going out with and the best friend, and and this idea of getting everything from one person. And what I and I was always challenged by that, actually. I wasn't really cliquey. I had different friends. I was kind of fascinated by people and just wanting to learn. And but I was challenged by that. And I remember being sort of picked on by that. You're not here for us for this or whatever.
Right,
why are you friends with them? And as you get older, it's okay to identify this is the group that I do this with, or these are the people that I do this with, or this is the person, my go-to person for that.
My best friend moved away in middle school, and it was she was my best. Sherry's still a very dear friend of mine, but moved away in middle school, and all of a sudden I was left without really, I hadn't really established other friends. Yeah. And that was a big life lesson. Yeah. And I'm lucky we're still great friends.
That's awesome.
But I think that as I get older, you just realize you're not going to get everything from one person. And it's funny when people, not to bring it back, but you were saying what if you lose the motivation, right? That one of the things that I always tell my clients is you shouldn't, there's no way you're good at everything. right? Because people always say like, well, why can't I do this myself? And I'm like, well, you're not good at it.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not good at, there's plenty of stuff I'm not good at. And so if you want to have a complete life, there's stuff you have to delegate.
Yeah.
You know, and that's okay, and ask for help. And, you know, some people aren't born with the organizing gene.
And I don't know, I think we were designed this way for a reason, because this is what connects us, you know, to be able to say, these are skills that I have, these are skills you have, and we have an exchange of those skills, and this keeps us in relation, and we get to learn more, and we get to grow more with each other. Like, we were just not designed to be by ourselves.
No.
So of course we're not going to have all of the skills that are needed for life. You've got to interact with people to get those.
You know what? To go back to your earlier question of what do you see shifts in people's lives after they declutter?
Mm-hmm.
I have to say, for a lot of my clients, clutter becomes a way to keep people out.
Yeah.
Right. So if they have a home that they can't invite people into.
Yeah.
And so I see all of a sudden when people declutter, they start to relate more.
Yeah, I
can have somebody over for a cup of coffee, and you know.
I had a cluttering relationship with my to-do list. I talked about it last year a lot on the show.
I'm obsessed with to-do lists.
Yeah,
so
well, you know what I do now? Instead of like writing out the task, I write the person that's involved, either the client or who, because I'm motivated by relationships. And when I see their name, it's like, oh, I get to have that interaction with this person instead of like the little tedious, oh, I don't want to do that task, or that's not my favorite thing to do, or oh, that seems kind of daunting, or you know, or all the steps that are involved in the task.
You know what's funny? And now that I realize it, I do that too.
Yeah.
Like I was thinking about my to-do list this morning, and it has the client's name and then what I have to do underneath it. So I'll have, you know, Stephanie and then 4 things underneath it. And
I wonder if you even need the list underneath it, because this helped me streamline the list.
It's fine.
It's fine.
Like, what was that thing I needed to do? I'm a huge fan of the to-do list. So I have reinvented how I do it, and it's very fluid for me.
That might be another conversation that we need to have. All right, last thoughts on clutter before we kind of switch into some other things and other ways to get to know you. Like, is there any other like thing that you're just kind of dying to share with people? I think we've talked about it, like taking small steps. Like everybody has, you know, some issue with clutter.
If I would say anything, I really want people to be, and I don't mean this in the like you're in trouble kind of way, but be more accountable for their stuff. People are sort of like, how did my house get like this? And I'm like, well, you brought it in, like you hit buy on Amazon. Like I think we're at a point where we need another level of consciousness about stuff, and we need to take responsibility for how much we're buying and how much we're bringing in.
I like it. I would say know your role in it, right? That's another way to say it. Yeah, like you just got to be clear about.
I actually really like that. Know your role in it.
And
not your 100%, but know your role in it.
Yeah,
and know that there are forces that are working against you. That's a really...
It's easier, I think, to deal with those other forces when you start to go, oh, me. Now let me deal with my stuff first. And then you can deal with it.
And then you all of a sudden go like, oh, it's not. So I think that I like that a lot. Know your role in it. That's sort of the conversation I'm hoping starts to happen.
And it doesn't have to be a hard conversation. It's just like, oh yeah, I did that. You know, I've done that. Okay, so we're switching into my favorite segment of the show. Yes, and it's very experimental at this point. So this is the relating game, and it's just dice. One dice has all of our senses on it plus body language. And then the other one has things like swap, and might be swap a story about, you know, the weirdest thing you ever smelled, or dare, or do this, what does it mean, act out something that we might do for 60 seconds, like a 60-second stare or whatever.
Okay.
And the whole point of this is just...
I thought for a minute you were going to read my like rune stones or something. I was so excited.
I would love that talent. I am very intuitive. I don't know about that. So the point of the game is to either bring up past relating experiences that have been life lessons for us, to do more relating in the now, like just things that we can do to experience each other in this moment, or to talk about future experiences that we'd like to have, like the wildest vacation that you'd like to experience, those kinds of things. So it's not a rigid rule game. I'll roll it, and I'm just going with my intuition of like, oh, this is a question I want to ask her.
Okay,
and then you'll roll it, and we'll see what happens. Like all kinds of weird stuff can happen from it. All right, so I've got I got the ear.
Okay.
So something that has to do with what we've heard. And wild, so it could be anything. So let's talk about music, I guess. Like, and that's always comes to mind. What is the wildest musical experience you've ever gone to? A concert, or maybe it's the weirdest song you've ever heard.
I have to. Oh wow, that's pretty.
Do you like music?
I do.
No?
I do.
Oh, yeah.
I was trying to think. It wasn't like wild in the sense, but I flew to Nashville on a whim to see Dolly Parton play at the Ryman Auditorium. I was like, I got a wild hair.
Yeah, yeah.
I was like, she's playing, I gotta go, and it was
It's worth it.
Oh, it was. First of all, I mean, Ryman Auditorium. Second, which is just church.
Yeah.
And then Dolly was like bedazzled. Everything was bedazzled. She was fantastic. It was great.
It's really cool to see like somebody that's, I don't know if they're offended, but like a living legend that like they've just
has a living legend.
Yeah, I saw Elton John a couple weeks ago, and it's just like
everybody
that's something you need to do, because here's a man that he got so choked up when people we had a standing ovation, and like we're just cheering and cheering, and he literally had tears coming down his face. I'm like, this is amazing. Like he's had this amazing career. He's got a ton of stories. He's a humanitarian. He does lots of great work. And he can still be touched, and not be touched by his fame, but still be touched by humanity. I'm like, that's cool.
You know, one of the things that, and it's interesting, I thought this when I saw Dolly, was the gratitude she had.
Yeah.
Like for me, I was like, no, oh my golly, you know.
Yeah.
And she was just so grateful that we were all there.
Yeah.
And I think that for me is sort of the thing that takes a musician to the other, to like the next level,
more than just a star.
Yeah.
Like I think that's probably how they keep fame in check too, and like and stay connected to their humanity, is keeping themselves humble and grateful. Yeah. Seems like it. All right, do you want me to roll, or do you want to roll?
You roll for me.
Okay.
You're over there. That's
okay. All right, so this is 60 seconds body language. So we could either set a timer and do something. So sometimes the things that come to mind are like we could mimic each other's, but we're doing the same thing anyway.
I'm like, I think we've been doing that for 45 minutes.
Right.
We literally are like.
Okay, instead of setting a timer and doing this, like, what would be the weirdest like body language that you could experience with somebody else that if they held it for 60 seconds, it would be kind of awkward?
See, for me, it's always like whenever you have to do those, like when you have to look at somebody, that's always the weirdest thing to me.
To like have a long stare?
Yeah.
Like you wouldn't win a staring contest?
No.
So probably, someone, like holding something for 60 seconds if they did move. I mean, this kind of stuff, right? Like we are all told that this is a very, don't come near me.
I know, and it's so.
But I'm always comfortable like that.
It's so funny. I think because I do that when I'm listening to clients. Like I'm really listening, and like you said, we've always heard on body language things like "don't do this," but I'm like, but I'm not. That's not standoffish, because it's funny. The thing that people make fun of me, not make fun of me, but when I put my hand on my hip, because I'm always doing that when when everyone's like, oh, I get more blowback from that body language than this. So this is where context comes into play, right? Because someone could have an experience with somebody that was like this all their life, and it meant something to them. It meant, I'm judging you. I'm like, it's the grandpa. Whoa, was that the right thing to do in this situation? But that doesn't mean everybody is coming from that same sort of experience inside them when they do this. Like sometimes I'm cold. I have long limbs. I have I'm not very tall, but I have very long limbs for myself. And sometimes I just feel weird when my arms down to the side. Yeah.
So
I know the same thing because I listen to people a lot. A huge part of my job is listening. So I'm standing there listening. So you're always sort of doing. Doing something.
It's funny how important body language is to communication, but we don't check in on it very often. So, if someone was experiencing, is she being bossy or what's going on? Ask you.
First of all, I am bossy.
Yeah, of course you are. But this is my
little niece is 4.5, and she does the exact same body language.
Yeah.
Exactly. She puts her hand on her, and I'm like,
wow. So this is boss mode for you.
Yeah. I'm but it's really more get it done.
Yeah.
I don't think of it. It's funny. Julie Gordon and I, we talk about this because we went to elementary school together, and we were told, both of us from very early age that we were bossy, and we always talk about why is that negative? Like, we get it done.
Yeah.
Like, we're incredibly productive. Like, why is bossy a bad thing?
I know. Yeah.
You know, I mean, I guess it is if you're not thoughtful, but
yeah.
it's like, I'm like, but I'm a boss.
Yeah.
And 6 people who work
I want to
for
get
me.
stuff done.
Like, I gotta boss people around.
Yeah.
Like, that's what I do. And
Yeah.
then you go, is it because I'm a woman? Is it, you know, if those same things come from a man? Like, why is being bossy bad?
Yeah, it's not. I mean, this is not a new topic. We talk about this, you know, how it's different for man. I think we're doing better at that right now. I mean, we're having these conversations about being careful of the labels that you put on people. But I think checking in, I mean, I'm aware that I'm bossy, and Dee and I, who's behind the camera, like, because he's new, and like you know, we're learning this stuff together. We have a code word if like I get out of control, you know, because I want to know, you know, because I do work. I work mostly by myself. You know, most of the people that I work with are not in this space with me. And I do work off of, this is what I want to get done every day. Like, I want to accomplish this. So I'm just like I'm just going off that list, right? And in most cases, I'm not reflecting with someone like how I'm getting it done. I'm just getting it done. So I can understand that when I'm working with somebody else, that my fastness and just, it's all about the task, let's just get it done, could come across as whatever. And so, you know, I make sure we check in. That's it.
I also think that can be tempered for me as a boss too, you know, is tempering it with gratitude.
Yeah.
Like a thank you and you know, it's amazing that how many people don't. And you're like, just a thank you.
Yeah.
Like, just an acknowledgement. I know you're, you know, or sometimes I like to preface it like, okay, we got a lot to get done. I'm gonna knock into it like, you know, just know I appreciate that you're here, but we gotta go.
Definitely. Should we do one more before we change? All right, let's do one more. Okay, so this is an experience of something that we can see. Act out, is this okay or not? So have you witnessed anything lately that we could act out and talk about? Is this okay or not?
Wait, have I witnessed
so yeah,
anything?
have you done, well, it could be something that you've done and people are like, hey, what's up with that?
Well, we talked about this when, we talked about this recently when I got here, that I had a client who I hadn't seen in a long time, who I was very close to, but we hadn't seen each other. When I went to greet him, and he asked me if he could hug me, and I was like, in my mind, I was like, of course he could hug me. And then I was like, oh wow, thank you. So I think that I am a touch talker.
I know you just touched me now.
Yeah, I am.
I am too.
Yeah, I am referred to as my friends. And it's and I have some friends who love it, and they are like, it makes me feel so connected to you. And then there are other people in my life who have really like not liked it. And I've had to train myself with clients not to do it.
And let's not forget, one situation it could be okay in, and then the next one it's not, because they have something going on. So generally speaking, we can't have enough check-ins, because you know, things change, situations change. I think it's good that we're talking about a lot of this stuff and just having a moment saying, hey, you know, I'm really feeling like I want to hug you. Is that fine? You know, like what?
And I think what's been interesting about the Me Too movement and this complete level of awareness is that I have been looking at my own behavior.
Yeah.
Because it's also like, oh, okay, well, you can assume because you're the woman that your physicality or your acting out physically isn't threatening, but I don't know what anybody's going through.
Honestly can't. I just can't think of a situation that we would not all benefit by asking what's your role in it. Like, really, because there's so much of this, like, I call it like, it's like simulated thinking, like where we're like taking somebody else's thoughts and putting them out via social media and not stopping to like go, is this me? Or like, you know, what's my role in this? You know, and I think that question alone in every situation, you know, is how we're going to grow and get through a lot of the challenges the things that we're talking about, you know.
I mean, I just started to change my language. Like, I just say, I'm a hugger. Is it okay if I hug you? And some people are like, no. And I'm like, or I'm sick and I don't want, you know, that just
I like telling people where they can go wrong with me. I mean, I'm a big believer of like, hey, I want relationships. I want us to be successful. Anybody that I'm bringing into my life, I want us to be successful at whatever we're doing.
Right.
So I'm a big believer in going, I'm going to provide you all the tools to be successful with me. Like, and sometimes those tools are, I'm not good at this. Like, you know, I'll tell you when I'm tired, or Here's where you're gonna go.
me.
Here's where you're gonna go wrong with me. If you're not accountable to your word, yeah, it's not a real good thing for me. Like I will never tell you what to do, but when you say I'm gonna do this and you don't do it,
I was talking to a young person, 18, and she was talking about a difficult situation in her life and with roommates, like you know, we're all your first roommate thing. And I said, well, it sounds, and they need to have a hard conversation. And I was like, well, it just sounds like you're at the point now where you guys need to talk about it. And she's like, I know. No. That's so hard for me. That's so hard for me. And what I said to her was, well, why don't you think of this as an opportunity to practice? And she was like, what? And I was like,
100%.
If you know this is hard for you and what you're going to have for the rest of your life is conversations and lots of difficult conversations, why don't you see this as an opportunity to practice and see how it goes?
I'm a huge believer in that. I mean, that's essentially why I do the show.
Right.
That we have gotten really good at a lot of other things, and we've lost the ability to really communicate. And the only way we're going to get better at it is to practice. And if you look at every conversation, even the hard ones where you got to set boundaries or there's some difficult, there's a difficulty between you two, that's just practice.
You put out to your viewers about texting.
Yeah.
So I have made a decision in my own life with the people that I work with, most everybody, I text facts, right? Like, you need to be here, this is this.
I'm running late.
Yeah, that one makes me nuts. But I text factual things.
Yeah.
And if it gets into any kind of, I pick up the phone.
Yeah. 100%.
I just pick up the phone.
Yeah.
I can't do it anymore.
Yeah.
I'm so sick of things on my own end too, getting off track. That's not what I meant. Then I'm like, I just pick up the phone.
Yeah.
And it just goes so much faster.
Yeah.
And I don't think text is efficient communication.
No.
It is if 9 p.m. meet you at, Love Song. That's good, but not anything deeper than that.
Yeah, I agree. And there's always a point where you go too far with it, and you're like, I don't think this conversation is a text conversation anymore. Can we talk?
Yeah, I say that a lot.
I do too.
Let's talk about this. My boyfriend's a big fan of that. He'll text, and I'm like, okay, let's put a pin in this, and we'll talk about it.
Yay! All right. Well, so a couple more things that we get to do together before we end the show. So, exceptional human encounters. What comes to mind when I say that? Like, when's the last time you had one?
I mean, I'm so lucky because I have them with my clients all the time.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'm getting ready to go to New York to move a woman she's 91, she's lived in her house since 1961. And we're downsizing her to a smaller, and she was like, she showed up, answered the door, and she looked like Jackie Onassis, like little flats on and like leggings and like a scarf, and she just looked, and she just started crying, like, I love it, and to be able to say to her, like, yeah, this is hard.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean it's not the right thing to do, but yeah, it's hard. I think we don't get to say that to people so much.
Well, it's so meaningful. Like, I can only imagine. So now I'm really excited about what you do. I'm like, I'd like to do this part. But the idea of working with someone that's had this great life, lived this great life, and I'm sure when you're looking through stuff, they're telling stories.
Oh,
heaven. I love hearing stories from people. I mean, that's heaven.
We were at a client's house, and I'm gonna get some of the details wrong, but I know. It was a client, and then we helped her mother moved here from LA, from somewhere else, and we found a box of photos that no one had ever seen, and the grandfather, so the client's dad, had been one of the first soldiers to arrive at Auschwitz.
Wow. And
he had taken pictures on a brownie camera and had never shown them to anybody.
Oh.
I mean, we were all like, oh.
Wow. Yeah.
And then we gave them to the Museum of Tolerance. Just like that I have to say, those, to be the pathway to getting the stuff from where it's languishing to where it needs to be, is some of my most meaningful.
It has to be. I'm just feeling that right now. Yeah.
And it's always the stuff is the catalyst, but we always get to this deeper.
Yeah.
Great.
I love that. Oh, all right. Well, so that brings us to the wrap up of the show.
Oh, no, it went so fast.
I know it always goes so fast.
We could do this for so long.
Right? So we have a mutual friend that I know we both love. Shout outs to Shara. And I told her I was going to tease her. Does she tell you to do circles?
All the time.
All the time.
Well,
so
we
every
should have
time I
done
see
our
her,
circles for 60 seconds.
we could have done
That
circles
would've
for
been our
60 seconds. So she's our acupuncturist, and I love her. She's way more than that. She's like my go-to, like health, like preventative health. But yeah, every time I see her, because I'll be like this, oh, I'm so stressed. She's like, you haven't been doing your circles. I'm like, nope, I have not. I've been busted. So shout out to Shar. I love her so much.
She's amazing.
She is amazing. She's best spine, detail A. All right, so a couple things that we get to do together before we end the show. So I always issue a social challenge of the week.
Oh, okay.
Okay. What I know you have something going on social media right now.
Yeah,
Talked about that.
Now that we've talked, I think I'd like to do something just for your.
Okay.
Yeah, I think I would like your viewers, listeners, to declutter 5 items.
How would you even decide what they are? So you're saying when you say declutter, get rid of them,
Get
right?
rid of them. So
get rid of 5 items.
5 books. It could be 5 articles of clothing. It could be 5 cans of creamed corn you're never going to eat that you take to the food pantry. 5 items, and maybe post a picture on your page.
I like it. Okay,
5.
I like it.
Easy. And by the way, it could be 5 old magazines you're not going to.
Okay, and is there any rules so they can't just trash them? Do they have to take them
If they're
somewhere?
trash,
If they're trash, they're trash.
If they can go in the, first step is donate. If they're not donatable, appropriate recycling, and then trash.
Love it, love it. Okay,
Fun,
5
right?
items. So if you take the challenge, you let us know. So Tracy is very easy to find on social media. It's just her name, and it's on screen right now.
Yep.
So we can find her that, and if you take it, I'd love to hear about it too. So reach out to me at Relate with Steph. That's a great challenge.
Yeah,
I love it.
I know. I was like, your viewers need something special.
Yeah, 5 items. All right, and I'll remind everybody what that is when we archive the show. Well, that brings us to the end. I know we could do this again. Well, we'll bring Shar.
Good thing we're neighbors.
I know. We are neighbors. We're walking distance neighbors, which is even better. That's why I love being downtown. Well, I appreciate you being here. Her book releases in June, and I'll make sure everybody knows about it. So if you
and it is available for pre-order now on Amazon and Barnes and Noble.
Okay.
Yep.
So we'll share that link, and if you sign up for my email, I'll make sure that you know when her book releases, and we usually put a link on our website as well.
Great. Thank you so much.
We'll be involved in that, and I'm just going to end the show like I'm going to end all the shows this year about this because I want us all to be thinking about this. What can you do today, not tomorrow, today, to make an exceptional encounter happen? See you next week.